people probably would hate you for having compassion for someone that viciously killed 4 young adults.
I think there's a fallacy here, and that is that this individual is exceptional. As I mentioned, there's over 140,000 people in solitary confinement, or take the 200 and some immigrants who had not done any crime except for being undocumented and were sent to the prison in El Salvador, which is a known torture chamber. They're crowded, 70, 100 of them in a single space that's too small, doesn't have bathrooms, they get terrible food. All right, is that the way we want to conduct criminal justice in the United States? It's not about a single individual who happens to have done heinous crimes. And yes, there's not a lot of compassion for him individually. However, he then becomes the wedge that allows torture to go on. And that's what's going on here. It's not about sympathy for him or lack of sympathy for him. It's about how do we want to do criminal justice in the United States. Personally, I believe torture is not okay, no matter how awful someone's crimes are. The United States should not be about torturing people. Second of all, it's not about him. It's about those 140,000 people in solitary confinement, and it's about the 200 that were sent to the CCOT prison in El Salvador. And that's what we need to think about while having this discussion.
Yeah, what a rude awakening. You get off the plane and you're in that prison in El Salvador, man. Crime doesn't pay. If they're criminals. I know Terry's mentioning that, some of them are just undocumented, but I mean, they try to save the worst of the worst for that prison in El Salvador.
And I look at the film, the people they show the prisoners in that El Salvador, the prison of them, all shaved heads, all tats. A lot of them do look like they're part of MS-13, but my goodness, it's like sardines just packed in a can.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Kupers. Reality has to be setting in right now for Kohberger. Now, this guy is a sociopath. He thought he was going to get away with the perfect crime. I feel confident saying that because a lot of experts and people that are around him at the university and everything agree with me. What is it like when reality does kick in? And do you think he was thinking about this at all as he was planning these murders afterwards? And then we hear some of the recording or some of the research that's come out too that said he was scrambling once they identified his car and how he's trying to clean it. This wasn't something probably that anybody can be mentally prepared for. So do you think part of this is just reality setting in a very harsh way of what the next 40, 50, 60 years looks like for him if he survives?
Well, I don't think this is just anything. I think this is torture. And the question is, morally, do you think that if someone's crime is horrible enough, then they deserve to be tortured? And my answer is no. Torture is not okay. I can't comment about what's on his mind because I haven't examined him. And I'm barred as an ethical psychiatrist from commenting about someone's mental state who I have not personally examined. I haven't examined him, so I can't give you opinions about that. But what I can say is this. The main question is not what he's done in the past. He's in prison. He's been seen in court, convicted, and sent to prison. The question is, what's he going to be like in the future? And I can tell you with certainty that putting him in solitary confinement and keeping him there is going to make him less rule and law abiding and more violent in the future. Now, why would we want to do that? So, okay, he's committed a heinous crime. I have total sympathy for the survivors, the families of the people that died. However, do we want to make of him more of a monster than what he already was? And just in terms of policy, he then becomes the poster child for more solitary confinement, which makes more people subject to what I call the decimation of life skills. They lose the capacity to settle disputes peacefully in solitary confinement. That is a result of research. We know that. Now, why would we want to inflict that on people, even if they've previously, in the past, done terrible crimes? Why would we want to make them worse? It makes no sense.